Hello and welcome to Bitcoin, Web3 and Accounting Network Effects. This is a podcast on the firm where we explore how open blockchain technologies are shaping the future of accounting and finance. Today I am your host. My name is Trent McLaren and I'm diving into this huge and different journey of an accountant who I believe is truly ahead of her time. Now, please let me introduce you to our guest, who is Electra Frost, pioneer in Web3 accounting. She's transitioned from being a traditional accountant, helping businesses navigate, the typical areas of compliance with not just Australian businesses, but I think you've mentioned Singapore and other countries, which we'll dive into as well. But today, she is going to help talk through blockchain, Web3 accounting, and the decentralized economy. We'll be getting into Electra's story, her insights, the rise of these technologies, and why she believes this moment is transformative as the early days of the internet. If you've ever wondered how blockchain is impacting the world of accounting, or how you can carve out a niche in this evolving ecosystem, then this series, ladies and gentlemen, is for you. Sit back, grab a coffee, maybe a crypto-themed energy drink. I've heard they're a thing. And get ready. Electra's journey is epic. You're about to hear some awesome stuff that even I am still trying to comprehend. Electra, welcome. How are you? So good to have you here with us.
Really well. That was a great intro. Thank you, Trent. There's not much more I need to say. It was well
I'm glad because, thank you. I'm super happy to hear that because, like everyone listening to this, I'm a complete novice. I think I've said already I'm going to sound like a complete
and we
dummy.
all are. We all are. Once you get started in this field, it's like, I need to study accounting again. I'm back at square one at baby accounting school. It's because like Bitcoin is accounting and accounting is Bitcoin. And once that light switches on, it's fantastic. It's for the brave and the curious, and those who I've shown it to have been hooked, and I would love the rest of the accounting industry to have the opportunity to see it through my lens. So thank you for having me on your show.
Amazing. Well, we're going to spend a lot of time together. We're doing a series of content around this, so looking forward to getting started. But today, this first episode, we are unpacking the origins of a digital accountant. So particularly what we want to do today is introduce you, your background, your story, and just particularly, your current reality, because we've talked a little bit, and I won't spoil it, but we've talked a little bit about where you are and what you've been doing the last couple of months. And I'd love to really share that with everyone as well. So why don't you kick us off? Tell us who you are and currently what you're doing in your business and everything that's going on for you in your world right now.
Okay. Well, thanks. I'll just go back to the beginning. When I was a musician in inner city Sydney, playing in punk rock bands, I was a drummer. Everyone else got to the rider before me, the bar rider. So I was packing up the drum kit and sorting out the money. I had an arts background. I was an art school dropout, and, I did not think about accounting 20, but, we had to do money. We had to start a business for our band. So I took the band to see a nice accountant in town who apparently understood musicians. And I met my first public accountant. And he was so helpful. He was just one of the most helpful, wonderful people I'd ever met, and gave me so much clarity, took away our fear for our band about forming a partnership and doing our books. And I just thought, I want to be you. I want to have the impact on others that you have. And so I went to TAFE, I studied bookkeeping, then I did an advanced diploma of accounting, and then I went to UNSW to study tax law because I thought, well, there were ABNs and everything coming in at the time. We were coming up to the new tax system. And I thought, well, I've got to explain this to the music industry and my friends in the arts because everyone's really scared of it. So I'll go figure it out. And then I just ended up doing like 2 degrees in tax law, becoming a chartered tax advisor, fellow of the IPA. I just got really caught up in it, started my working for Entire Accounting, music business accountants in Bondi. 2008, I started my own practice in Newtown. And it was wonderful just helping so many people that I cared about in my social circle to get through, get to legitimize their businesses. And you know what, just fast forwarding to the current day, I care a lot about the Bitcoin and open blockchain innovation, and it's the same people and I'm playing the same role.
I was going to ask, because you've talked about this, being a musician and specializing and that being your passion. How did you become a trailblazing Web3 accounting specialist? Like, that feels like such a jump, but maybe it's not. But how did this happen?
It's not. It's surprisingly, well, creative people, creativity and technology go together, right? Creative people are problem solvers. They create businesses out of nothing, and they're often misunderstood, but they also explore the nooks and crannies and ways to do things. I had clients in 2013 that needed to pay people overseas to do artwork for them where the banking system was not helpful. They used Bitcoin. And I was like, what is this? And what is it? No guidance from the ATO. And how do I get it into zero? So I had to figure it out. And I just thought, well, this has really got good business utility, like instant payments, virtually free. I guess it's just foreign currency. Then the ATO came around and said, oh, we think it's property and a CGT asset. And I was like, hang on, no, it's money. And so I've been confused ever since, especially, being in tax law. And that's something that's been at odds. And so from, I did a Master's of International Taxation, and my paper that I was writing in that degree was a worldwide tax system because I had Australians go overseas, right? So my clients have been overseas, and it's so hard dealing with all the different jurisdictions. And I just thought, why can't it all just be the same and make it easy for innovative people to do business with people anywhere? And I thought, well, Bitcoin's enabling that. And this could be wonderful if we just had one tax system, but who's going to control it? And that was the problem. None of us will ever agree on who will be in charge of it because, when you centralize control like that, it's not so good for everyone else in a nutshell. So, but then I started thinking more deeply about Bitcoin principles and the role that accountants could play in, standardizing accounting and tax approaches for the world. So it's when you study something like Bitcoin, like an innovator or a startup, you can only think big. So,
Love it. I mean, I have so many questions,
clients, but also thinking big.
Yeah, look, I have so many questions. So I know a lot of people are going to sit here and say there's a lot of, it's not even a buzzword. These are words that we're not used to hearing, but I'm hearing them a little bit, but I don't understand them. So blockchain and Bitcoin, I've heard a lot of, right? But I wouldn't say I've got a good grasp of. Web3, again, I've heard of, but I don't have a good grasp on. And then, we're talking about the ecosystem, the economies. I think you talked about an internet state or an economy state with me recently. We're going to unpack all of these things, but I just wonder, maybe you want to share a little bit about what you're doing overseas at the moment as well.
Okay, so the Network School, I recommend reading a book called The Network State to really stretch your mind about what a country is. A country is a community. A lot of us are in online communities, right? So, and these communities, they're not people in our own country. Like some people we deal with online, we don't even know what country they're in. Doesn't matter. But we're aligned with sort of purpose or values or projects. And sometimes these online communities can grow as large as countries. Once you get to 1 million people or more, that's a small country. So what's happening is these are countries that are forming online, cloud countries. So what the Network School is kind of like a Socrates Lyceum or a high-tech Hogwarts of people who were selected to come here as part of the first cohort, an island off the coast of Malaysia across from Singapore, to establish the first physical frontier of the digital frontier. So it's basically the first country on blockchain that is figuring out how to build a country in the physical world.
It sounds like the plot of a movie. Yeah. Every time I hear it, it sounds like the plot of a movie or a book or something, and I love it. I'm obsessed with it. And then my head goes to so does that mean one of the Facebook's group I'm in could also be a country if it's got enough people? Or
Good question.
The fact that we all use particular software, is that the thing that we're centered around?
Well, yeah, and that's why I'm researching the concept of Decentralized Professional Association because, we can have all our small tribes, our villages, but we can also, as unified profession globally, without any centralized authority, like Bitcoin has no CEO, there's no bank, it's just hundreds of thousands of nodes around the world that are all sharing the same ledger. As accountants, as a community around the world, we can be like Bitcoin. So that's what I'm researching at the moment. And yes, we could be a country that is aligned with the network state and to be part of the network school. So that's what I'm researching.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to bring it all back down to basics because this is our origin episode, origin story. So I want to spend some time exploring Web3 accounting. So I wanted to just see if we can start by saying, do you want to give us what is Web3 accounting and the Web3 ecosystem? How does this differ to traditional accounting?
Okay, well, in the beginning, there was Bitcoin. That was the first crypto, right? And that inspired other cryptos like Ethereum, which is, let's just to begin with, these aren't coins, assets, they're networks, okay? And networks create value, okay, as they grow. And so these networks have units of currency, I guess, like Ethereum and Bitcoin. But there's Ethereum, the network, and Ethereum, the currency, okay? And there are all these other layers and, smart contracts, NFTs, all these kinds of things you can do on these networks to sort of store, exchange, and frame value. So Web3 is kind of like all this technology, all this peer-to-peer decentralized activity. Think about the internet, right? We had the internet. When we came up with the internet, it was just, we had to have payment gateways and third parties to be able to transact with each other over the internet. This is basically the internet of money, the internet of value, where we are using the internet, but in a peer-to-peer, faster, cheaper way. Like, accountants should love this. And so that's what Web3 is. It's just using the internet in a different way with, cryptography and public blockchain. So accounting for that is really hard because our systems and standards and laws and everything are designed for the legacy system.
So how do you feel like this is going to impact accountants? Let's just start with Australia. Or, I mean, if you want to talk globally, if you want to remove countries altogether, if that's the right thing to do, let's do that. But I'm trying to think about the businesses or the accountants that live out in the country or, the middle of Australia. It's like, how does this impact, or where do you think this impact will take place?
Well, I think it's taking place around the world. There are groups of crypto accountants who have their online communities, and I've been finding them in the last 5 years and collaborating with them. They develop education, they get together where there is, regulators and standard setters haven't provided guidance on, say, DeFi and NFT business models. They've gone and created their own standards, so reached their own consensus. That's just an example of accounting decentralizing, just by people solving their own problems. And then the regulators going, oh, you figured out how to do it, well, we'll do that then. So we can lead the way. It's happening in this space, but really it depends on what your clients are doing. So if you've got clients who are like younger, or you're inheriting, your clients' children as clients, they might be doing things in this space already, which is really cutting edge. And it's like the early days of the internet.
Tell me more about that. So I think in our pre-game getting prepped for this session, we talked about the early days of the internet. We talked about and how the comparison of that is with now this new technology. How do you see the comparison of the early rise of the internet to things like Web3, blockchain, Bitcoin?
Kind of history repeats, yeah. It's funny, in my first accounting job, I was really excited. When I was a musician, and like we built a GeoCities website, I was so excited. I was like, ooh, we're going to be famous. This is going to be better than putting posters on poles. Everyone's going to see us on the internet. And so like I had friends who were like building internet types of businesses in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I told my boss, I've got these new clients for us. And he's like, no, we don't want to deal with the internet, because it was around .com bubble. It's all for fraud and tax evasion and businesses going bust. And I was like, no, you're missing the point. Anyway, here we are again. It's
so
the early
saying,
days of the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this is history repeating itself. And obviously, I recall people back in the day saying the internet's a fad. Like, nobody's going to want to build websites. No one's going to want to do online retail shopping. That's just outrageous. Like, I remember people saying that to me when we were working in retail, right? Like I'm going back 15 years now, but why would I want to do that? Why would I want to sit on my computer and chat to people all day? I'd rather just sit in my living room and chat to my family. And now we're all glued to our devices. We can't get our hands out of our phones. There's an epidemic of children that can't get off social media. It's wild. So I guess there's a lot of misconceptions possibly around this. But do you want to maybe just talk through some of the misconceptions that people bring up around blockchain, Web3?
Yeah, look, I think that's a really good question. I think they do overly focus on the asset. And I'll just also remind that, slowly and then suddenly with the internet and cloud, and who led the way? Accountants, right? We showed everyone how to do it responsibly and for business. And so that's another reason why we have to be at the forefront of this. But it's the misunderstandings, I think, can be dispelled by accountants, because we can see the real business use cases in things, and separate from the scams and the fads. where, like, people just go, we don't have to be financial advisors. We just have to say, like, what's the value in doing this, and what's the risk? And, we've done that before when clients were getting into the internet. We were looking at the risks and the value creation and the problems it was solving. That's kind of like, and how do I account for it? So that's how still our role, but it's just the internet changing, where we've got internet native money. That's all that's happening here. And the concept of money is changing. And that's another good thing about studying Bitcoin, is that it just helps you start to reframe what money is and how it can be used.
So I don't understand a lot, but I understand a little bit. So if
I'm getting off track, aren't I? Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. My head is going in so many different directions, and I'm trying to think through, well, there is no country that governs Bitcoin as an example, right? But every country has their version of how they want to tax those things, right? Like, as in what you do in Australia is different to Singapore or in the Middle East, or I feel like I remember you telling me about a country that went full Bitcoin and that's all they were accepting as currency, and I don't know how well that went for them. That was yeah, that's right. So I keep hearing of all these sort of stories, examples, and don't get me wrong, ChatGPT and AI was the catalyst for everyone using AI the way we use it today, right? Before that, everyone was like, AI sucks. I don't want to use that anymore. So I do imagine there will be a catalyst at some point where it just starts to rip off again. And maybe that is Bitcoin and Ethereum to an extent. I think those two things, and especially with the rise of the value, right? Like the guy that sold it, what was it? The first purchase, bought his 2 pizzas with his Bitcoin, and it's now would have been worth billions of dollars or whatever. I'm trying to now understand, okay, we're in this scenario. There's going to be a catalyst maybe that takes everyone more into this space. But how do you start to, what is the difference here? If every country's going to tax it in its own way anyway, how does this make this any different to me just doing it in foreign exchange or my normal revenue?
Okay, so are we talking about using Bitcoin as a means of exchange here, using crypto as a payment currency? Is that what you mean? And okay, because our tax laws are just a big mess, and we need a new tax system. We need a new there's a very interesting case arising in Australia that challenging the concept that Bitcoin is property by the ATO, and not because we don't want to pay capital gains tax, but because we need a separate asset class to be recognised for this emerging asset class, So traditional tax, look, I've got 2 degrees in tax law and I'm a chartered tax advisor. I would gladly rip them up if we could start again. And I think we can start again if accountants understand the technology and go, this is how it should be. And they're already trying to do that, but at the same time, trying to keep their clients compliant. We're navigating these different systems, and something's got to give eventually. And I think we're going to have to lead the way, because and this comes back to thinking about our role in society, which I'll talk about later in the series. But we've got to be the advocates for innovators and businesses, and we've got to we're motivated. We should be motivated to lead the way on tax reform. And we go, oh God, yeah, tax reform, Henry review, nothing ever happens. But in a big, decisive, decentralized way, and come up with a standard system. Maybe, look, who knows, there's going to be so many changes in the world in the next 10, 20 years. It's just overwhelming to think about some days. But just day by day, year by year, just helping our clients navigate the current system, but understanding and appreciating their businesses and what they're trying to do. Because the way things are going, all currencies are going to be digital. Every asset's going to have a digital form and be tokenized and fractionalized. It's just a case of whether it's going to be centralized or decentralized. And we've got to understand both and be also navigating the clients who choose decentralized.
I like the direction of our conversation. I'm really keen to understand, I guess, some of the practical elements. So I think I said before, right, we talked about people listening to this could be at the bottom of the mountain, and I think you're probably halfway to 3/4 up the mountain in terms of your experience and your knowledge. And our whole mission here is helping people through that experience curve, right? So how do we help people get to where you are?
Well, Trent, this is the problem. I'm so deep in it, I can't explain things simply anymore. I've been saying for 4 or 5 years, accountants, please just talk about this all the time. Get used to having conversations about things you don't understand. That's why I love your effort to just talk about things that you're not confident to discuss yet. Just talk about it, because that's how I did it. I listened to podcasts. I talked about it until I understood it better. and I need accountants to catch up and explain the simple things to other accountants. It's going to happen like that. So,
why don't we dive into like Electra's roadmap of things you should do first? So if I just put it this way, so what's your starting advice? Like, what's the website that I'm going to? What's the course I need to take? What book do I need to read to get a foundational level of understanding on Web3 and this space?
okay. Well, there are a couple of good books I can recommend. If you have a look at my pinned post on LinkedIn, I've got a whole list of books that I've read, including the Bitcoin Standard by Safe Dynamis and Web3 by Alex Tapscott that came out last year is good. There are others. There are podcasts I listen to. However, I'm close to releasing Bit by Bit, which is something I've been working on, adapting Bitcoin principles and knowledge to accountants' global competency framework. So mapping what we need to know about Bitcoin to different areas of our expertise that we do for like CPD and in our accounting degrees, because we each of us in the world have a responsibility to find cross sections of what we are experts in with Bitcoin and open blockchain technologies and the decentralized economy. That's how it makes sense to us, and that's where we can find our sort of comfort areas of discussion, because no one has time to understand how this relates to the whole world. We've just got to learn it within our own frame. So bitbybit.accountants is the website, and it's coming very soon. I'm going to be just doing 20 weeks of live streams, going through each of the areas that we are experts on and how it relates. And it's an open source project that I hope will inspire others to go and write CPD and micro credentials at their level. Because you learn by doing, right? You learn by doing. Yeah.
You do, 100%. People always say, Trent, how did you learn so many things? I'm like, I didn't go to school to learn this stuff. I'd made a lot of mistakes. I tried to do it. I did a terrible job, and then I got really good at it. Not too different to talking about things I have no idea about. I do that every day.
Well, you sound perfect for network school, because that's what everyone's doing here. We're just making it up.
I mean, I like the idea of living on a small island. That could be fun too. And good weather as well. So obviously when we talk crypto and all these things, some people start talking, tools, software, resources. Is there any particular tools in your tech stack, things that you're utilizing on a regular basis that our accountants and bookkeepers could or should be looking at or using if they have clients in this space that are talking to them about this stuff?
Yeah, look, it's good to really to start using Bitcoin and crypto wallets to understand how it's used, but with some guidance, and to do a bit of study first on the difference between custodial and non-custodial wallets, and getting used to the idea of being your own bank and having the responsibility to store your seed words securely and safely, private key, because you can, if you're going to hold your own crypto, right, and it's entirely your responsibility, you can lose it and no one will recover it for you. So, and this is something that these kind of risk analysis, and with using DeFi protocols, having to know who the third parties are that you need to trust, how trustless it is, that's kind of risk assessment territory that accountants are suitably cautious for. So it's good for us to use it to use the tech ourselves, the wallets and the tools. And I would recommend, some basic Bitcoin wallets, but one in particular, Stacks. Stacks is a Bitcoin layer 2 or layer 1.5, because it's an independent blockchain that is anchored to Bitcoin for doing DeFi and smart contracts on Bitcoin. There's a few wallets, Stacks wallets that I use, where you just discover the intersection of Bitcoin, blockchain and DeFi. And there are also other wallets that are like Ethereum and Solana related. So yeah, good to get together with a few friends and practice with very small amounts. And there's a lot of price action at the moment. Don't get too excited by it. Just don't go all in with more than you can afford to lose, but you can learn with just small amounts.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Well, would you feel comfortable maybe giving and sharing a list of tools and things you'd recommend people look at if we put that resource together?
Absolutely. And they'll be the ones that I'll also be recommending to practice on in my Bit by Bit program as well. So I'd love to do that with you first, maybe test drive them.
Yeah, amazing. We can also link back to your to Bit by Bit as well. Make sure everyone gets access to that. I've got one question here around how do we position ourselves? So you're doing a good job. You're doing this show, this series, to position yourself as a thought leader in this space. And I'll be honest, I actually don't. Oh, I know one or two other people that talk about this stuff, but I think I talk to you the most about it. So, do you have any advice for people that are interested in this and they want to position themselves as the expert or someone that could be approached for this, any of these areas that we're exploring today?
Look, it's such a great opportunity. Your clients who have crypto, even though you're not used to it, are the ones you'll learn with, like my client in 2013 who was paying people overseas in Bitcoin. I'm so grateful for him because I learned with him. So I think just be studying and let your clients know that you are like aware of this area. And particularly if they're starting to use crypto tech in business in any way, get them in early so that you can understand, their business model, why they're doing it, how they're using it. And because all of the knowledge you have, don't be intimidated by them knowing more about crypto than you, because you know more about business and you're going to learn from them. They're your opportunity, your existing clients, as they get into the space.
Okay. Love it. Awesome. Great. Well, what I really want to try and unpack, so you've been on a bit of a journey, which is a pun for everyone always likes to make jokes about being on a journey of some sort. You've been on a real particular journey though, and you've got a real vision for where you're going through. I'd love to understand what's been the most rewarding part for you about this journey so far.
Meeting people around the world who are so purpose-driven and optimistic about the future. Look, it sounds kind of cultish, but Bitcoin is hope, right? When you study Bitcoin, you can see, wow, this is serious people power. We can use technology. They call themselves techno-optimists, right? And it's a good place to be. And I'd count you as a techno-optimist. Trent, you can see the potential for AI. We can see the potential together of AI and Bitcoin and blockchain together. I mean, AI and blockchain, they're married. Like, they've got to go together. They just work better together. And we are, as accountants, we're in the best spot to we shouldn't be overwhelmed because everyone's a learner. We're all learners in this space. And
Absolutely.
what's so satisfying is just being around people who are so keen to learn and who are curious and see a bright future that we're quite capable of building together.
Love it.
Yeah.
What's your main goal? What do you want the main impact goal or point to be from your Bit by Bit project?
For accountants around the world to contribute to a new body of knowledge to lead our industry.
Yeah. Okay.
Without
Awesome.
any professional association or group leading it. It's just going to be a completely open source effort that's non-profitable, but we'll all then use it to develop education, and that will accelerate this knowledge and influence our professional associations who think they know the future of accounting. But I think we're going to, and like what you're doing, I think we're going to kind of lead as a collective decentralized monopoly of people.
There's a whole nother conversation there around industry bodies and
I'm about to write a book.
learning.
I'm about to write a book. Just got it. I've got just all the chapters at the moment, so that's why I'm saying too much, and I can't be simple.
No, I love it. It's good. Well, we'll talk about that another time as well. We've got a lot to talk about in the next couple of weeks. So Electra's going to peel it all back. Excited
Well,
about.
I've tried very hard to distill this. I want to write the blueprint for Decentralized Professional Association, which is what I'm gearing up to finally write in 2025. My God, we're here already. But I think we're all a bit confused about the future of accounting. I talk to people in blockchain and they say, oh, you're all going to get replaced by AI. And it's like, yeah, good luck getting AI to represent you when the ATO disagrees with your AI position. So it makes us think about what is our role to society, and that's something we've got to assert as public accountants. And there are three things. It's accountability, holding companies accountable to their stakeholders, and just everyone's accountable, right, to something. We measure and verify that. There's advocacy. We stand between, government agencies and regulators and the people. We don't work for government, we work for the people. And we've got to assert that that's our role as advocates, because we're needed into the future. in that function. And there's trust. We provide trust. Okay, we help people trust things because they can rely on us. We signed it, ticked it, approved it, verified it. So accountability, advocacy, trust.
Love it.
And we accelerate on all three if we learn Bitcoin and open blockchain, because Bitcoin is accountants and accountants are Bitcoin. It's those three things. And that's what I'm really excited about in 2025, getting into a clear message that we'll all understand and be motivated to get in this AI-driven future and make it good.
Great. Well, I can't wait to unpack the AI component of this at some point as well. Electra, if you could help me out, share one piece of advice, encouragement. Now, there's a lot of accountants going to listen to this and be hesitant. They're nervous. They don't know how to explore all these things. But can you give one piece of advice and encouragement for people to explore blockchain technologies? What would that advice be?
Okay. It's to focus on the underlying technology of it and the good that it does for people. Okay, don't get too caught up in the, it's hard for tax and accounting, regulators don't like it, bad people use it. Yeah, that was the early days of the internet were the same. Just keep your focus on what Bitcoin really is as a network. Separate your understanding of it as an asset from your understanding of it as a network and its potential as a unit of account that everyone in the world can agree on. Now, what in the world can everyone agree on? Nothing. It's only Bitcoin. Understand why. And once you understand that why, you'll find yourself thinking a lot more like an accountant should think in the digital age. So that's what I would recommend. Let your mind explore this and you'll feel more positive and empowered about your future and your role in it as an accountant.
So we're coming to closing out the session today. Electra's been awesome. It's a great introduction to you, a good introduction to all the things we're going to be unpacking. Do you want to give everyone a bit of an overview of the things that we will be unpacking in the next lot of episodes that they can stay tuned for?
Okay, well, I think the next episode, we're going to get into Web3 Accounting 101. That's really essential because the first thing we've got to do is help our clients, right? I mean, we're running businesses here and we're helping our clients. And understanding the concepts and the basics of accounting, what's happening on blockchain explorers, why it's hard to get into accounting software, and the tools and approaches that we can use and the places where we can learn how to do this kind of accounting when it's time. Okay, and we can, we did cloud. We can figure this out. We're going to be tackling those challenges in accounting and thinking about how we can future-proof our own careers by being part of the early majority of our industry who are preparing this space. Because if you're a digital accountant and you don't understand blockchain and Bitcoin and crypto, then you're not a digital accountant anymore. I'm sorry.
That's actually a good point. If you're not into crypto, blockchain, you're no longer a digital accountant because cloud accounting is just the norm now, right? Like everyone's got cloud, everyone's got bank feeds, especially in Australia. Like it's the differentiation of this has definitely changed. So that's a good point. That's a good debate we should have. Maybe even a poll or a survey. Are you still a digital accountant if you don't?
I think that's a great idea. Let's make a debate of that because that's just me saying it. But there will be people who disagree and they might give us some good points that we need to tease out.
I agree. How can everyone reach you, Electra, if they want to continue a conversation, if they want to chat to you further? How would you recommend they get in touch?
Look, I'm very active on LinkedIn. Please encourage the algorithm on my LinkedIn post. I sort of journal on there and share a lot of news and information. Message me there or email me through my website. You can find me on electrafrost.com and see my projects there. And I'm very reachable.
Amazing. I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time. This is our first episode down. For everyone listening, we're jumping into episode 2, will be Web3 Accounting 101. So this is a foundational episode. We're going to jump into the basics of Bitcoin, Web3 blockchain, and decentralized finance, or DeFi, as Electra said through here. And importantly, what do accountants need to know about these things? So what are your key takeaways going to be in that episode? Understanding these core concepts and the implications on accountants, but also on your clients. So stay tuned for that. And then, as Electra said, we're going to be tackling crypto. We're going to be future-proofing our careers. And then we're going to be talking about the visionary network state, which I'm very excited, which is obviously unpacking the network state and everything you're doing at the network
They
school.
need lots of accountants. They don't know it yet, but they're going to need us.
I love it. So good. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. This has been Bitcoin Web3 and the accounting network effects. My name is Trent McLaren. We've been joined by Electra Frost, and this is a limited series on the firm. You're going to hear a lot more about it. If you liked it, make sure you share it. You tell your friends, share it with a colleague. It's the one place that you're going to find all this niched content for accountants that we think is really, really valuable. Thanks for coming along. Thank you, Electra. You've been fantastic.
My pleasure.